What if everything you thought you knew about Anakin Skywalker was wrong? What if the Jedi Order didn't just fail him, but actually created Darth Vader? Because when you really look at his story, his fall to the dark side wasn't sudden. It wasn't one bad decision, it was slow, unavoidable collapse. From a young slave on Tatooine to one of the most powerful Jedi ever, to the most feared Sith Lord in the galaxy, Anakin Skywalker isn't just a tragedy, it's a warning to what happens when power, fear, and isolation collide. Because Anakin didn't just start as a villain, he started as a kid who just wanted to help people. When the Jedi first found him, they saw something extraordinary, a boy with more force potential than anyone they had ever seen. They believed he was the chosen one, the one destined to bring balance to the Force. But what they didn't realize, they were giving child that kind of label that changes everything. Mamba went on, Anakin wasn't treated like everyone else. He wasn't just another student, he was a prophecy, an expectation, a responsibility. And that kind of pressure doesn't build strength, it builds fear. Fear of failure, fear of not living up to what everyone expects of you. And that fear was the first crack. But the real damage started with something even deeper, attachment. The Jedi Order had one rule above everything else: no attachments, no emotional connections, no love, because what they believed, attachment led to fear and fear led to the dark side. But here's the problem: Anakin already had attachments. He had a mother, someone who he loved more than anything. And instead of helping him through that separation, instead of guiding him, the Jedi simply took him away, told him to let go, just like that. No closure, no understanding, just suppression. And that doesn't work because emotions don't disappear just because you ignore them. They build, they sit under the surface waiting. Years later, when Anakin begins having visions of his mother in pain, those suppressed emotions came rushing back all at once: fear, guilt, anger, and when he finally finds her, it's too late. She dies in his arms. And in that moment, something else inside Anakin breaks, not slowly, not subtly, completely. Because now what he has feared the most, he couldn't save the person who he loved the most. All instead of receiving guidance or support, he hides it, he buries it, and that pain turns into anger, and that's the real first step towards the dark side. By the time the Clone Wars began, Anakin is already walking a dangerous line. On the outside, he's a hero, a respected Jedi Knight, a general leading troops into battle. But internally, he's unstable. He's dealing with trauma, fear, and growing distrust in the Jedi. He starts to see their hypocrisy. They preach peace but lead a war. They preach detachment but make emotional decisions. They speak of trust but keep secrets. And slowly, Anakin begins to feel like he doesn't belong, like he's being held back, like the Jedi don't truly understand him. And that isolation is exactly what pushes him further. Because when the Jedi are distancing themselves from Anakin, someone else is doing the opposite: Palpatine. From the beginning, Palpatine takes special interest in Anakin. He listens to him, supports him, praises him. He tells him things the Jedi never would: that his emotions aren't weaknesses, that his anger, his fear, his attachments are sources of strength. And over time, Anakin starts to trust them more than anyone else because Palpatine gives him something that the Jedi never would: validation, the sense of control, a belief that he doesn't have to suppress who he is. And the influence grows stronger year after year until Anakin is completely caught between two worlds: the Jedi who restrict them and Palpatine who empowers them. Then everything escalates. Anakin begins having visions again, but this time it's not his mother, it's Padme dying, just like before. And this moment is where fear completely takes over. Because Anakin isn't just remembering the past, he's reliving it. The same helplessness, the same pain, the same failure, except this time he's determined to stop it, no matter what it takes. And Palpatine knows this, he uses it. He tells Anakin that there are dark side powers that could prevent death, that can save the ones you love, something the Jedi would never teach. And now Anakin is faced with the impossible choice: trust the Jedi, who have never truly helped him, or trust Palpatine, the one person who promises a solution. And everything leads to one moment. Mace Windu confronts Palpatine, standing over him, ready to strike him down. Anakin walks in and sees two completely different realities. To the Jedi, Palpatine is a Sith Lord who must be destroyed. To Anakin, he's the only chance to save Padme. And in that split second, he makes a choice. He intervenes, he stops Windu, and just like that, everything changes. But there's that decision, that one action locks him into a path that he can't escape. There's no going back after that, no redemption, no undoing what he's done. And instead of resisting, Anakin gives in fully. He becomes Darth Vader, not out of pure hatred, not out of a desire for power, but out of fear, fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of reliving the worst moment of his life. And in trying to prevent that future, he creates it. He turns against the Jedi, destroys everything he once stood for, and in the end, Padme still dies, not because he failed to gain power, but because but because of the very path he chose. And that's the real tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. It didn't fall because of evil. He fell because he was afraid, because he loved too deeply and didn't know how to let go, because he never was taught how to face loss, only to suppress it, and because when he needed guidance the most, no one truly reached him, not the Jedi, not his friends, no one. They saw his power, but they didn't understand his pain, and in the end, that's what destroyed him. So when you look at Darth Vader, you're not just looking at a villain, you're looking at the result of a fear left unchecked, of emotion ignored, of a system that failed one of its own, because Anakin Skywalker didn't destroy the Jedi Order alone. They helped create him.